New moon in Sagittarius, 9 degrees 33 minutes, November 30th, 2024 at 10:21 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Now, as always, with a new moon, set your intentions for the next 2 weeks to the next full moon as well as to the next month. And what is Sag all about? It's about anticipating Christmas. So we're going to parties, we're seeing friends, we're shopping, spending, we're eating, we're drinking, we're going big time here. And isn't it interesting that we don't get our gifts until Sun goes into Capricorn? We don't get our stuff. But anyway, Sag is also ruler of truth, law and order, especially judges, freedom, optimism, travel, and you can do it from your living room. You don't have to go out there and do it. You can see it on VCR or tapes or DVDs, whatever. And just remember too that the Jupiter is the ruler of Sag. So all these things I'm talking about are also part of Jupiter too. And remember, Jupiter's also called the Santa Claus of the zodiac. So you can kind of see why. Now, and also remember too, it's not just Sag. Think about those other mutable signs, Pisces, Virgo, Gemini. They're also being activated in a little bit more excitable way because of those squares and oppositions. Now, the biggest transit that I want to keep an eye on here is that Mercury retrograde, and check out my last video on this one, because even though it's up here at 20 degrees and the sun and moon are down here at 9, it's coming towards that because it's going backwards and the sun and moon are going forward. So the moon's actually going to hit that Mercury on December 1st, and on December 5th, the sun's going to hit that Mercury. And now, particularly that sun, is really going to be a trigger point because we've just got a lot of truth that needs to come out. And the other thing about this Mercury is it's also in opposition to Jupiter. Remember that one? So we're getting a lot of repetition of the same information to come out. And Mercury, when it's retrograde, we may get a lot of yes, no, stop, start, what do you think? I don't know. But Mercury retrograde wants to get it right. That's for sure. So anyway, I do want to talk about Mars, but I'm going to do that in the next one because it's right in there too. So we'll see you next time, and thanks a lot. Stay tuned for the extended version. Bye. All right, everybody, back to the extended version of the new moon in Sagittarius. The first thing I want to do, though, is just do a little bit of housekeeping. I just want to let you know that the only platform I'm on is YouTube. I will never ask you for money. I won't email you and say, oh, I want to do your chart. Just send me money. Those are scams. The only way I'll communicate with you is through the comments below. And just to let you know, when you write me a comment and I respond to it, if you respond to that comment, it can get buried, so I might miss it. So you might want to, if you're responding to a comment of mine, start a whole new little list, because then it'll be right up at the top. Okay. And I also just wanted to say these Astrology 2 videos that I'm doing, these extended, they're really for people who know maybe a little bit of astrology. Maybe they've gone through my Astrology for Beginners playlist. It's on my channel. Go to the circle icon. Or they just have, maybe they've read a lot or heard a lot, so they have some familiarity with astrology. If you're a basic brand new beginner, you might want to look at my Astrology for Beginners. Now, and of course, if you're a fairly seasoned astrologer, what I'm doing may seem pretty mundane to you, for sure. Because what I'm trying to really focus on is just picking out a couple of major transits that are going on and really help people understand how to apply this to their own charts and that kind of thing. So it's a little bit different there. And there are so many great astrologers out there, like Rick Levine. He's one of my favorites that do monthly readings. Denise does one every week, and she does a great job. And then, of course, Pam Gregory does a new moon and full moon twice a month. So that they're really going through a lot of different aspects and much more in depth than I'm going in, basically. So let's think about looking at how this new moon is going to affect the astrology chart. So I'm going to put you on pause and bring the camera down. All right, so here we are. This is our generic wheel, and so we've got Aries on the first house. Remember that first house cusp is always the first house right below the horizon line. And we've divided our wheel up into 12 pie slices for all 12 signs, Aries to Pisces. And, you know, like I said, if this all seems like gobbledygook to you, please do go look at my beginners astrology playlist. Now, for first off, when we've got the sun and moon conjunct in Sagittarius, it can be in any house, though, depending on what your rising sign is. So I want you to look on your chart. Where do you see, you know, and I just put 933 because that's our new moon degrees. But whatever degrees you are with this Sagittarius symbol, and then there may be some minutes there too. Just to let you know, whenever we do whole degrees, we always round up. So this would be 10 degrees if we rounded up. So we would look for where do we see this on what house cusp. And so let's say it was right here. If we had 5 degrees of Sag on this house cusp, then this sun-moon conjunction would be on the forward side. Remember, it's always going this direction. But if our house cusp in Sag was 20 degrees, then the sun and moon would be behind it on the, you know, because it would be going this direction backwards here, that we'd put the sun and moon in the 8th house, even though it's still in Sagittarius. Okay, so hopefully that made sense. And why do we do this? Because the sun and the moon gives us the energy in Sagittarius, in the sign. So that gives us kind of that style, that flavor, that adventure, or in Sagittarius, or that happy-go-luckiness. But the house is going to tell us what area of life. So if you find that this 10 degree Sag is happening in your 8th house, that's the house that's ruled by Scorpio. And our keywords for Scorpio are sex, death, and other people's money. So, maybe somebody's going to die and you're going to inherit a bunch of money. That's a terrible thing to say. But if it was in Libra in the 7th house, that's our house of marriage partnerships, even business partnerships, looking for an attorney. Libra rules attorneys. Maybe you decided you need to write your will this month, and so you're going to be looking for an attorney. That would be a perfect use of a 7th house Sag, basically. So on all of these houses are going to be flavored by the sign that rules them. So the 5th house, if this was down, if your Sag is in the 5th house, the Leo house, then you're going to be looking for fun, romance. Up here, it's more like marriage. Down here is just like, you know, let's just see what happens. Let's just date and have some good time for a while. So do look at where that house placement is for this new moon to give you a little bit more definition for how to set your intentions. And the same thing, 10th house cusp, Capricorn, that's your career. So maybe your intentions will be more around, you know, am I going to get a job overseas? You know, Sag rules international stuff. Same thing here. Maybe I'm going to meet somebody who's from a foreign country. And also remember, foreign countries or foreign places, if you've been brought up in the city, somebody who's from the rural part of the country that you're living in may seem like somebody from a totally different place, basically. Okay, so that's how houses can help you out with this. Now, I wanted to show you, I talked about how the sun and moon in Sagittarius here, and that we've got Mercury here. You know, Mercury, we can always tell Mercury because it's got its little antenna up. It rules communication. is going backwards, and the sun and moon are going forward this direction, and they're going to conjunct. And this is going to be happening on it's going to conjunct the moon, because the moon is the fastest moving, on December 1st, and then Mercury's going to conjunct the sun on December 5th. And I think that December 5th is going to be a real trigger for what's going on here. I guess I'm also thinking, you know, politically too, and that sort of thing. But that will be a big, I think a big trigger point is that December 5th. Now, the other one I did mention is that Jupiter's down here in Gemini, and so it's opposing this Mercury and this sun moon. So remember, Jupiter is the ruler of Sag, so it's going to have a lot of the same, you know, expansion, optimism, idealism, honesty, that kind of thing. But there's going to be that opposition. So keep in mind that all four of the mutable signs, and remember there's one in each element, so Sag is mutable fire, Gemini is mutable air, Virgo is mutable earth, and then Pisces is mutable water. All of those are going to be stimulated too by all these aspects I'm talking about. And especially, we've got Saturn sitting over here at 12 degrees Pisces. So that's really, that's hooking into creating a T-square between these elements. And the outlet point for a T-square is going to be the sign opposite the sign that's kind of the planet that's out here by itself. So this energy of the sun, the moon, Mercury, all opposing Jupiter, all squaring Saturn, the outlet point is going to be Virgo. So everybody who's, you know, the Sages, of course, are going to be affected, Geminis, but also Pisces and Virgo. You're not getting away scot-free. You're going to be part of this too. Now also, I did want to mention, I did say about December 5th would be the Sun-Mercury conjunction. On December 6th, Mercury is going to be squaring this Saturn, okay? And, oh, and I should have also said that on December 4th, the sun will be squaring this Saturn. So right in a row, we're going to get this impulse into Saturn. Here we've got, you know, Jupiter is the planet of expansion when we breathe in, and Saturn's contraction as we breathe out and contract our stomach and stuff. Saturn is morality, hard work, you know, all that good integrity. So hopefully, even though it's in this woo-woo sign of Pisces, we'll get a little bit of honesty, straightforwardness coming out in our lives, as well as in our you know, the outer world too, the more mundane world. Now, a couple of things I want to mention before I run out of time here, that also up here at 14 degrees Sagittarius is what's called the Great Attractor. And it's basically a black hole in space up there, and it's just sucking in galaxies and universes and that kind of thing. So be prepared. All of this is happening very close to this 14 degrees Sag. So things might get lost and then pop back up. There could be a lot of shifts and changes and that sort of thing. And the other thing I want to point out too, that I'm going to do a video, the next video on, is that Mars is down here in Leo. Now, Leo is another fire sign. And remember, so the modalities, cardinal, fixed, mutable, those planets we're going to see difficulties in their relationships. But the fire signs and the water signs and the air signs and the earth signs, all of those work in harmony. So we're actually getting a little harmony here that's Mars is about 5 degrees of Leo, so that's pretty close to this 9 degrees. And it's going to be giving us a lot of support. So there should be some action going on here that gives us a little bit more oomph to our finding out the truth here with this Jupiter opposition. Now, the other thing to remember with Mars is it is getting ready to go retrograde. It literally goes retrograde, I believe, on December 7th. I'll have to think of, see if I can remember that for sure. But it's coming right up to. So it's basically stopped in the sky. It's only moving like 1 degree every 2 days, whereas usually it moves a degree. What did I say? It's moving about a degree every week, and usually it moves a degree every 2 days. So it's basically stopped. And when a planet is stopped in the sky like that, it gives it a lot of power. So I'm really hoping for a lot of help here from Mars to getting the truth out here. The other thing that might be helping us out too, and I don't have my sticky for this, but the North Node is over here at 4 degrees of Aries. So again, fire, fire, fire. So hopefully, because the North Node is always our most forward-looking sign or point in space. So hopefully that will give us some good forward-looking energy also. And also, not to give us too much of a downer here, but is that Pluto is up here in Aquarius, basically opposing this Mars. So like I said, I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in the next video, because Pluto, especially in Aquarius, wants us to reveal the truth also. Okay, so I think I'm going to call it quits for today. And I've given you a lot to think about. Just remember the 4 mutables and the 3 fire signs are going to be activated the most by these. And do look up, see if you can figure out your house placement, because that will give you a lot more insight of how this new moon is going to affect you. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for being here. And just remember, from there to here, from here to there, funny things are everywhere. Bye!